Welcome to episode 20 of the Gospel Works podcast, where we discuss how the gospel applies to work and life. We're your hosts. I'm Aaron Giesler from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and this is my good friend and expert in universal knowledge, Josh M.
Yeah, not true. We wouldn't have had quite as much trouble with this dumb microphones if I were an expert in universal knowledge.
Well, I just know a lot of people think Josh is an expert at universal knowledge. I've witnessed many people ask him questions that he could never possibly know.
Yeah. How much feathers do they grow in Malaysia?
Where does this trail lead? I don't know. We're all on this trail at the same time for the first time.
Yeah.
So we're talking about expertise today, Josh, right?
Yeah. And a lot of folks think that there's kind of this universal expertise. I remember I've liked watching the Sherlock Holmes style of TV series and movies. And there's this scene in the Game of Shadows, which came out like 15 years ago. But you've got the super bad guy Moriarty, and you've got the super good guy Sherlock Holmes, and they're both crazy geniuses. And it's the end of the movie, and they're talking about all the plans within plans within plans that they've had across every domain, and they're doing it while they're playing chess in their heads, right? And thankfully, at the end, Sherlock Holmes, spoiler, says checkmate. Because if he didn't tell me that it was checkmate, there's no way I would have known. Because me in my head, I can't just visualize, 10, 15 chess moves. I don't know. Maybe you could.
No, I don't know one chess move.
Right.
I know the
Now,
little castle moves up and down and back and forth and side to side.
right.
The horsey does some other things.
So there's 64 squares,
Yeah.
32 pieces, and these guys are just holding them. And so maybe you think, oh, that's science fiction or whatever. But actually, earlier this year, Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura played a blindfold chess match. And they put an actual chessboard in front of them so that normal people could figure out if they were actually playing chess or just saying letters and numbers.
Like I would think that I would say bingo. My guess is
that's right. What's crazy is they achieved 96% accuracy after the game was over when it was being reviewed by computers, which do all of that now. And that's super high, even for the number one and number two in the world playing when they can see.
Who won?
It was a draw.
Oh man,
as is often the case in chess. But it was
like soccer. Also, why I don't like it.
They went 37 moves deep. So if you want to try to calculate the number of permutations that would be, it's
more than 37%.
It's more than the number of atoms in the universe. So it's a lot. Now, you might be thinking, oh man, Carlsen and Nakamura, they must be like these universal geniuses. But that's not actually the way the human mind works. Like you can get it to this crazy awesome thing, but they interviewed Magnus Carlsen, and he said he like forgets his car keys or where he put his credit card. I mean, I can get losing your car keys, but losing your credit card, that's and Nakamura is famous. Like he's in addition to being number 2 in the world in regular chess, he plays Blitz and he plays online all the time. So he's a Twitch streamer. So he'll be playing it like this televised match, and he'll be reaching for his mouse.
And there ain't none.
And there ain't none there because he's playing on a board. Like he just forgets things. In fact, there was a dude named George Koltanowski, who was a Belgian guy back in the 50s and 60s. He played 34 games at the same time, blindfolded. I can't even imagine playing one game for 3 moves blindfolded. So 34 simultaneous games blindfolded. And later, they interviewed his wife. His wife's name's Lee. And they say Lee is...
What's it like living with a super genius memory guy?
How's his... I mean, his mind just seems like a steel trap. And she said, George can go to the supermarket for a loaf of bread and come home without the loaf of bread. Like, He's just
Yeah. I mean, in a more realistic case that makes sense to me, in one of my favorite football movie, The Program,
uh
deeply theological.
right,
They have a guy on there who's the middle linebacker who can't read good,
right,
but he knows every defensive play. Like he knows at lineup the play they're going to run, the likelihood,
yeah,
and that guy. I mean, it's a fictional character from a movie, but I can't tell you how many guys I knew like that couldn't read, write, or trace, but could tell you every defensive formation based on what the how the offensive set was.
yeah,
And so,
yeah,
like, not good at other things, but real good at that.
yeah. And so, in real life, wisdom isn't universal; it's domain specific. That means living wisely requires building your understanding through the combination of God's word and your world, your work. It's got to be specific.
So, explain that a little more to me, Josh. I'm not.
Well, let me put it like this. When we see the wise man in scripture, it's uh it's this person who has all of their life together. And it's as if wisdom were one whole cloth that you got. But that's actually not how wisdom works. In fact, it's not even how the development of wisdom is presented in the Bible. It's more like a quilt. It's like you get this square, and then you get this square, and you get this square, and you have to keep developing all the different pieces. And the goal is a holistic life that's aimed at the kingdom, that's pleasing to God.
Skilled at living, some might say.
Yeah, skilled at living, the old hokmah.
Ooh.
So Hebrew.
Yeah, that's a lot of Hebrew. I think we've hit our Hebrew quota for the day.
Right. And so the picture is holistic. But if you read, every proverb is about some specific thing that you have to learn. Relationships or finances or how to manage your time or whatever.
Or where to drink water from. Your own well, I believe, is what it says.
Yeah, that's
your own
also
cistern.
relationships.
That is also relationships. It's a 2-for-1, really.
Right.
So, what does domain specific wisdom look like? You're trying to build the quilt
Right.
one square at a time. You come into this world with no quilts and
Right.
no squares.
Right.
So, you learn how to walk and talk. I mean, that's kind of your first squares. But whenever you become an adult, you have to build things domain specific. So, what does that look like?
Let's talk about the science first. And we have developed this theory of expertise and development over many years, and it kind of started with chess. It was a psychologist who also happened to be a chess master. He did this experiment at his chess club, and basically they took a chessboard and they showed it for 5 seconds to the best players and the worst players, and without any surprise to any person, the real good guys could remember it, and the guys that weren't that good couldn't remember anything. But the interesting part was that they also gave them some other memory tests.
Like, here's a list of numbers.
Memorize a list of numbers. Here's names. Just your standard kind of psychological tests of memory. And there was no difference between the two groups. And so this guy whose name was De Groot was like, it seems like
he is De Groot.
Yeah, De Groot. I am Groot.
I am De Groot.
He is not De Groot. I am Groot.
Okay.
So then in 56, a guy named George Miller came up with this insight into the human mind that says basically everybody can hold 7 things plus or minus 2 in their working memory.
So I have heard something like this. That is why I can remember people's phone numbers from 30 something years ago, because there's 7 numbers, but they said once you had to start putting the area codes, it made it much harder to remember.
That's right. And that's kind of across the spectrum. Like someone with an IQ of 90 and 150, both are going to be able to remember 7 plus or minus 2. And that's short-term, not long-term memory. So, but there's a big difference between one-time passcode that's 5 numbers and one that's 9 numbers. One that's 9 numbers, most people will have a little bit of trouble remembering it. But one space And that 7 can be a letter, or it can be a word, or it can be a phrase. So let me give you a quick test. It's an easy one. For all you who are listening, I'm going to list more than 7 letters, and I want you to try to remember them. I'll read them out at the standard speed, which is 1 letter per second, more or less. F, B, I, C, I, A, I, B, M, M, I, T. Now, if I said, hey, can you recite those letters back to me? Most of you would say, I can't do it. Because that's, maybe you made it to the CI part. Maybe you made it all the way to M. But very, very few people would have made it to T, the last letter. But if I gave you the same test, but I chunked those things together for you, you could remember it really easy. FBI, CIA, IBM, MIT. FBI, CIA, IBM, MIT. Did it without looking. That's only 4 things, but it's the same letters, right? So that's the idea of chunking. You can hold 7 plus or minus 2. Now, here's where the situation gets a little bit more interesting. In 1973, they took this classic study because everybody was super excited about it. And instead of showing these chess masters a regular chessboard for 5 seconds, they mixed all the pieces up into ways that they couldn't possibly be in a regular game. Just things that would never happen. Well, here was what they found. Chess masters had basically no advantage. So there was nothing magical about looking at the chessboard that helped them to remember more things. It wasn't like, oh, I'm looking at a chessboard, now my memory gets way better. What they saw was, and this was the implication, the chess masters were seeing, instead of seeing 18 or 24 pieces left on the board and these kind of, and trying to memorize each one, which is impossible. And that's what beginners are doing.
They saw the Queen's Gambit opening,
Yeah.
or they saw,
Yeah,
a famous. They saw move 26 from a famous chess match,
right, or whatever it is. Yeah. And that's a different kind of thing. But once you take those things away, they just have this little advantage. And the little advantage is, even in a random chessboard, some of those pieces are randomly in a normal position.
Yeah.
Over the next 20 years, that kind of develops some more in ways that are not super important for us. But the main thing is that they saw that it was confirmed across multiple domains: music, sports, medicine, chemistry, even computer programming. Guess what? If you show a computer programmer lines of code and then show a novice or a non-programmer lines of code, the computer programmer memorizes it way better, unless they're all jumbled up so it doesn't make sense. Yeah. And then they get
or it's nonsense.
Yeah, it's nonsense. Here's the obvious implication: is those things only work in that specific domain. So it should be obvious to us already. Like if a programmer is super good at memorizing code, as long as it's in order, but sucks once it's out of order, probably isn't going to carry over to music, right? Like if you can't get out of order code right, music is going to be way out of bounds. That's what we're saying when we're saying wisdom. The ability to understand a situation is very domain specific.
The exception that kind of proves the point would be is if they can draw the parallel between the thing they're the expert at, like, notes follow a pattern,
right?
Just like computer programming follows, if they can do that, or, sports also follows this thing that you could figure out in another sport even.
Right. So there are some ways that you can.
But that proves the point, though.
Yeah, it proves the point. And it's much harder to do that cross-domain transference than people expect. What I've also thought was interesting is, they use these functional MRI machines to look at your brain. Well, when they look at novices trying to do these memory tasks, the things that light up are that working memory region, like the 7 plus or minus 2. experts are able to, they're reaching through working memory back into the long-term memory where they've got that pattern stored. And so it's like they're cheating because they're sneaking in this programming pattern or this musical pattern or this chess pattern, and it's only taking up one block in that out of that 7. Now, obviously, this is all metaphorical language, but it's interesting to think about that expertise is not related to the size of your brain, but to how the patterns are stored in your brain.
Like how quickly you can access it.
How compressed is it? And so this is kind of implicit in the Bible. We have a lot of Proverbs relating to a lot of different areas, as we said before. Relationships, time, finances. Sure, there are some common principles, but you can be really, really good at finances and really, really bad at relationships. And you can be really, really good at relationships and be really, really bad at managing your time or finances, which means wisdom has to be developed piece by piece.
So in putting together the quilt, go back to the quilt analogy, you have your squares. Whenever you develop the square, that means that you can access this stuff quickly, accurately,
right,
expertly.
Sure.
So most people out there listening, like myself, are going, man, that sounds great. I would like to develop this kind of expertise. How do I do it?
Right. Well, I mean, I think first, do you remember Mark Matlock's favorite saying back when we were doing wisdom stuff?
It's pattern recognition.
It's pattern recognition. And then he said something about firing together.
Do
you remember that? Oh, man. Neurons that fire together, wire together. He said that like 185 bajillion times.
He did.
And it's the same idea that you have in your coaching experience, right? Like, what do you have kids do if you want them to get better at a skill in football?
Practice it. Break it down.
Break it down.
Practice it in chunks.
Right.
Put it all together. Do it slow. Then do it fast. Then do it in the game. Do it
under pressure.
Do it under pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the idea. The brain rewires in response to stimuli, whatever that thing is. Neurons that fire together create stronger connections, and that's biological, right? It's an actual physical change, just like muscles that work out and get protein, get bigger. Parts of your brain that work together grow together. And so you can identify a pianist or a violinist by looking at their brain scan, because everybody's got a primary motor cortex, but pianists have to use both hands all the time. So they get these bumps where the fine motor control of the hands are located. It's called the omega sign because it looks kind of like the Greek letter omega. Violinists, their right hand, all it does is like it just stays in that position. So they have a lot of movement at the wrist and the elbow, but the fingers stay still. But their left hand has to have the same kind of dexterity that a pianist is. And so they've got a big lump. I think it's on the right side of that primary motor cortex. So a neurosurgeon can say, oh, hey, you play the violin? And they will be like, or the guitar. Maybe you'd be surprised, but you can just tell by looking at someone's brain. Skills are lost if they're not used because your brain's always trying to take out the trash. Neurons that don't fire together strongly the connections between them tend to degrade, right?
It's like a friend you haven't seen in
yeah.
If you don't talk to them, you lose touch of what's going on in their life.
Now, obviously, things that you learn early last longer because they become the substructure for everything that comes after it. Deeper grooves in your brain take longer to fade out.
That's why PEMDAS for me is built in,
right.
But Taylor series is not.
Right.
That's math stuff, guys, and I just know it's called Taylor series. I can't even remember how to set it up anymore.
Gosh, yeah, no, that's true. I can't remember the Taylor series, even though that's calculus 1.
Yeah.
So when will your brain kind of rewire? Well, it's basically when you're trying to understand or to learn something that is at the edge of your ability, and perhaps even farther. Like failure is a part of learning, friction is a part of learning, effort is a part of learning. But learning to pass protect block doesn't make you better at throwing a baseball.
Or school,
right?
First-hand knowledge.
Yeah, so the random brain games, they're fun and they activate your brain somehow, so they make sure that you've got some blood flowing a little bit, but it's not going to make you better at almost anything. The end
It's going to
back
make you better at those games.
and make you better at those games, which means, unfortunately, you're going to have to be a beginner, a fool, a lot of times in a lot of different ways on the journey to wisdom.
So I can't play enough Sudoku to be good at finances if I'm not good at finance.
I mean, they both have numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe it's less intimidating psychologically, but the skills are different. You know, I think you were watching this thing the other day about needing to be a beginner all the time.
Yep. Old Jordan Peterson. He says, if you're not willing to be a fool, you'll never be an expert.
Yeah. And it was like kind of all about the journey. Like every time you make this big change, you kind of have to start from scratch in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, this is this week marks, so this time last year I was going to Texas all the time and taking my dad to chemo. So I got him on the brain, not chemo. He was doing radiation for his brain cancer. So I've got him on the brain a little bit this time of year. And I got to see him change. Like, he became the fool. I remember my dad and I had a deal that after I hit 6th grade, that I would never ask him for help in math, and he would never have to admit that he couldn't do 6th grade math. Because he was talented in a lot of ways. He was an expert in many domains, not mathematics. And I remember him. He was asking me. He was taking college algebra because he lost his job. I mean, and he just decided he had been a laborer, he had been a welder, he had been a safety person out at the refinery, and he just needed, like, he's like, I'm tired of all that. I'm done with all that. I want to do something in the medical field. He had become a paramedic.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't unknown to him. He knew he liked it.
Right.
In Texas anyways, you can do your EMT and, your basic and your intermediate and your paramedic, and you don't have to take any other college classes. You just take those courses. First 2 are a semester, the last one's a year. But he wanted to be a respiratory therapist, so he decided he had to go back to college, which was his nemesis.
Right.
And he had to take college algebra, which basically is an impossible feat for someone that is not good at 6th grade mathematics.
Yeah.
And I got to see him be a fool. In fact, my mom walked in one day and thought there had been a body switch at our house, because I'm trying to explain to my dad, because he was good with numbers. He could do calculations in his head.
Yeah.
But you put a letter in any of those and he did not compute. And so I'm trying to teach him how to move some things over to solve for X. I mean, and we're talking real easy stuff. And my mom walks in from work, and my dad is saying, like, well, Aaron, you're just not explaining it right. You know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. If you explain it to me better, I would know how to do it. And I was like, well, Dad, you're just not paying attention. I've explained how to do it like 3 times. And he's like, I can't wait till your mom comes home and I'm going to ask her. And I was like, yeah, you need to ask Mom. Like, so she had thought there had been a body switch.
Yeah. You guys were Freaky Friday.
Yes. But he graduated. That was my senior year. He got his associate's degree while working a full-time job in respiratory therapy in 3 years.
Right.
And I watched, he went from that to then he would teach classes in the health sciences department. He was never like an adjunct professor or whatever, but all of the professors would have him come in and teach parts of the health sciences classes because he was such a good teacher.
Right.
So he was a fool, though. I mean, at first he had to retake algebra again.
And for anyone out there that's thinking that they might be considering working in another culture or overseas, be prepared, because that is the first 2 years every time. Doesn't matter how many. I've lived in 6 countries for a good chunk of time. And even on the 6th country, the first 2 years, you're a moron. You don't know how to talk. You don't know what's important. You don't know who's important. You don't know how you're supposed to talk or who you're supposed to talk to. You don't know how to eat. You don't know what things are. You don't know where things are. You have to pass through being a fool in order to become wise.
I think so many people don't change things. They don't move forward because they are afraid
Right.
of that phase.
Yeah, and it's not the most fun thing, but if you just kind of got to get your mind right. Like, hey, I'm going to enjoy having everybody look at me like I'm a moron all the time.
I'm pretty sure my dad was 46 or 47 years old. He was my age.
Yeah. Gosh.
I mean, and he went to school to do something he had never done.
Yeah, it takes courage for sure.
But man, his life was way better because of it.
I think the bottom line here, kind of what we're trying to get across is, because wisdom is domain specific, it's a lifelong process, and that process is going to be costly, right? Neurons that fire together strongly a lot of times wire together, and that creates this kind of expertise, this kind of understanding, the thing that makes the x in the 2x plus 5 equals 12 make sense. And so wisdom is costly. It's costing time, effort, attention. Proverbs 23 verse 23 says, buy truth and do not sell it. Buy wisdom, buy instruction and understanding.
How do you buy it, Josh? How do you buy truth and wisdom and instruction and understanding?
You can't buy it with money. Sometimes you got to spend money to get it, but man, it's all about putting the time in, putting the effort in, paying attention, and to use kind of that very West Coast type of a word. It's like you got to set your intention, or to use the phrase that Jesus uses, you got to set your face towards it. As you do that, you will grow in wisdom. And as you grow in wisdom, you'll start looking at larger and larger pieces of the world as one thing. And so you'll be able to understand the world better.
So I know this, at 18 years old, I felt this call. I felt God's calling to go into ministry. There was one problem, and it was a kind of a big one, Josh. I knew nothing about the Bible.
Ooh.
Which
I still think that I scored lower than you on the entrance exam.
You might have on the TB, TK or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I just knew nothing.
Yeah. No, I was.
And my mentor also affirmed that in me. Oh, yeah, you know nothing. He's like, you need to go to seminary. That's the only way you could ever do this well. I was like, all right, sign me up. He's like, you got to go to school first. I was like, I got to go to college. I got to go to school before I go to school. He's like, yeah. But man, I do know that as I started engaging in I started listening to tapes.
Right.
My mentor was a real John MacArthur guy, and he would loan me these John MacArthur tapes that I would listen to and from school. And so you engage with you engage 30 minutes at a time. You engage with a little bit of scripture at a time, but over time, and then especially in seminary, you start engaging with larger and larger chunks of scripture.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about this before, but like you come out of your undergrad and you were accepted to a program in math, applied math.
Yep. A PhD program.
Yeah. I was looking at computer science, but I was already working and I already had a nice job offer. And then you get into seminary. I scored, I think it's 35, which is less good than I typically score on most things. I'd never really written papers before.
That's why I chose math. I didn't have to. They said, why'd you choose math? I don't like reading books or writing papers or doing homework.
Yeah.
And then I got into seminary, and God had played a cruel, funny joke on me. Because that's all seminary was.
Read, write.
And then not even in English, not even all the time.
Yeah. It was a new set of skills. And we started off foolish, and we ended up slightly less.
I think you could say that we are experts in practically handling the Bible.
Yeah, not when we got out of seminary, though.
I mean, we were more closer. So. We were closer. But little insight to for you guys out there: seminary does not make you a theologian.
Yeah,
it does not make you an academic.
No,
it makes you equipped to handle the most kind of common things. And it gave us the tools to become real experts in that.
You might be asking yourself, well, what would this look like if we applied it to the Bible? First, it means you can engage with larger chunks of scripture. So my notes are incomplete, so we'll do this from memory. So we'll excuse us if I miss something. But the example that I really like is Philippians 4:4-9. And most people know the middle verse of that, which I forget what the number is, but it says, "Don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation with prayer and petition, make your requests known to God, and the peace of God."
That's verse 6.
Verse 6 will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And that's good. And engaging with a single verse of scripture is helpful. But it's even more helpful to look at this passage that's talking about how to find peace in God, which starts in verse 4, which says, Rejoice
in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice.
The Lord is near.
Yeah. They said, let your reasonableness be known to everyone.
Yeah.
The Lord is at hand.
Yeah.
And then, the Lord is at hand, so do not be anxious about anything.
Right. Before it even starts talking about prayer, it talks about being gentle, having a heart filled with rejoicing, because the Lord is near to you, right?
Being reasonable.
Right, being reasonable. And then after it talks about prayer, which is, again, the part that everybody's remembering, it goes on to say, brothers and sisters, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, set your mind on such things. Anything you have learned or heard or received from me or seen in me, put these things into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. Right? So these aren't just random things that are stuck next to each other that the chess master and the master programmer and the great musician wouldn't see a connection. As you grow in your understanding of scripture, you should start seeing these things in chunks and say, hey, it's right. If I pray and I'm thankful, the peace of God is going to be with me. But that needs to be connected to remembering that God is near me, remembering that I'm supposed to be rejoicing, remembering the kinds of things I'm supposed to be thinking about, true things and noble things and right things and pure things and lovely things. And then remembering that I'm supposed to be trying to do all the stuff that I've seen other Christians do, especially the good ones. And all those things together are this one chunk.
Yeah. Don't do what the bad ones do.
Yeah, don't do what the bad ones do.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's bad. If you want to have the God of peace with you, if you want to have the peace that transcends understanding, guarding your heart and mind, a beginner chooses one, takes it, and they carry it like a shield. And that's where we all start, including me, including Aaron, including whoever you are. You didn't start knowing everything.
Now, you may not remember learning some of it if you grew up in a Christian context.
Sure.
I mean, I do know people assume like, oh, everybody knows this. It's like, no, you know this and you don't remember learning it because you heard it 37 times before you remember remembering it.
That's true. But as we grow in wisdom, as we grow in expertise, we should start seeing these things come together. We should start putting things in the framework of the themes of the Bible. Yeah. Fall and creation and redemption.
Recreation. I mean, I think, and Josh, we've seen this. I run a Bible study. Me and another guy run a Bible study, and it's got a lot of guys, and it's got a couple of young men, and it's got some young men that have, before this, never have read the Bible. And our Bible study is not hard. We don't go super like it's kind of choose your own adventure. It's not a teaching. There are no teachers in it.
You don't exposit the Greek text.
We do not. No Greek is even named. But we've seen this I'm thinking of one guy in particular who was not he was not good at understanding what the Bible said, understanding the English words, not deep theological interpretation, but just it's I don't even know what this word is. And man, in 7 months, that guy, in fact, this week, he said, hey, I wrote some stuff down.
Yeah. Wow.
And, he had thought about it. We're doing First Corinthians, which is not as easy as like a proverb, but he was able to wrestle with the text more and think about it more deeply and connect it to some other stuff. And we saw him be willing, especially his first few times at Bible study, sound really silly.
Yeah.
When you can't read the English well,
Yeah.
in a group of guys, you get a little self-conscious, and we encouraged him, no, man, keep going. You're going to
Yeah.
be all right.
Yeah. You have to be willing to be the fool. And the Bible is not different in kind from any other domain. As you engage in larger chunks, you can do that listening to a podcast like the Bible Project or watching videos. I think a lot of people have really been helped by seeing the bigger picture of a letter or of a book. The Bible recap, super famous. A lot of people are listening. But passive engagement and active engagement are really different. If you want to grow in your expertise or your wisdom with respect to the Bible, you have to engage with it actively. You've got to wrestle with what it means for you. You've got to wrestle with what it means in the context originally. You're gonna make mistakes. That's part of it, right? Like, you've got to be a fool in order to be wise eventually. That's the role that your community is supposed to help you play. It's the role your teachers are supposed to help play, to help kind of correct those things. And then you're also going to have to do the hard work of memorizing verses and passages. If you look at how the master programmers and the chess masters and the master musicians, it's not just that they watched a lot of YouTube videos about chess or music or programming. The chess masters spent tens of thousands of hours memorizing positions and memorizing theory and learning it, and then thousands of games. And the same with the programmers. They had to understand how it works first, and then they had to try to do it, and then they had to fail, and then they had to go back. They had to ask other people.
One of the things I'm really excited about, Josh, is I think what you're talking about for a long time was unattainable to so many people. You had to buy a book. You had to have access to a mainframe.
Right.
You had to have a chess master.
Right.
In
coach.
a coach.
Yeah.
Talking about, the domain of the Bible. You had to have someone who was seminary trained, who could teach you, and who had the books, and who would allow you to take some of those books. And some of them are I remember one time we had to buy a book that was $125 and 127 pages. Axionsart and
oh, right.
or not Axionsart, what's his name? The Romans guy's book. Who taught our Romans class?
Oh, Dr. Wallace.
Oh, he didn't teach mine. Oh, Aspect and the...
Oh, Buste Fanning.
Buste Fanning. He
Verbal
has
Aspect of the New Testament
Verbal
Greek.
Aspect of the New Testament Greek. That book is $125 and 127 pages.
Worth every penny.
Oh, false. So I got through Greek borrowing it from the libraries. But digital resources and, man, AI make this stuff so attainable, but there are some caveats.
AI makes tasks less hard, right? The harder it is, the less your brain works, the less those neurons fire, and that leads to actually decreased skill. And there's already some studies that are showing. There was a nice one on radiologists that show that they are performing 25% better with AI, but after just 1 year, they're performing like 50% worse without AI because they've started to forget things. And for those of you who've ever learned a foreign language or have left a job or a profession, it doesn't take that long before you have really begun to deteriorate in your skills.
Now, that doesn't mean you're going to just forget everything. It means you're going to forget. It's kind of you build from the inside out, don't you?
Right. It's true. And the things that were the least hard to learn are the ones that will go first. Also, the less time you spend thinking about something, the less of a chance you have to wrestle with it and to grow. Your brain is not a muscle, but in so many ways, it acts like one. Time under tension is a very important thing for growing muscles. It's also a very important thing for developing your brain. And what's crazy and really bad, and I think the church really has to think about this a lot. We talked about this many episodes ago when we talked about cognitive biases. One of them is called the cognitive ease heuristic. And
Whoa. Cognitive what?
cognitive ease.
Ease. EASE. Huh? Okay.
Yes, ease. And that is the easiest way to understand it is when you watch your teacher work a problem on the board,
I was always the best at those.
You're the best and you understand everything. And when you try to do it at home, it's way harder.
Man, and then I became a teacher, a math teacher, and I understood that the most.
Yeah. So if something seems easy because someone else is doing it, your perception of your own ability to do it goes way up, even if you can't do it at all.
I feel like that's everybody that watches professional sports and like, oh, he should have thrown that over his backside shoulder.
Right.
Yeah. He should have just done that.
Yeah.
While that 300-pound guy was tackling him.
Yeah. No, it's
because you could have done that, Fred.
That's right. Fred, the guy that watched football sometimes.
Yeah.
I played in middle school. No, it's AI is the king of that. They did this guy named Fernandez or this person named Fernandez, actually it's a female, but I forget her first name. Just this year.
Miss.
Wrote a paper called AI Makes You Smarter, but None the Wiser. The disconnect between performance and metacognition. Now, metacognition is a very, very fancy way of saying how well did you think you do? And so it was a fun test. They gave a group of 1,000 people or so the LSAT, which is the entrance exam for law. So this is a test that is hard. It's made for people going to be lawyers.
You have to get a certain score to get into most of these law schools.
It's just like the SAT, except pretty much a lot harder. And it's very, very verbal, very logical, the kind of people that you'd want to be talking a lot in court, right? And so, they gave this and half the people didn't get to use AI, and they scored 10 out of 20, which is about, that's an average score for a really hard test. The people who used AI actually were able to score 13 out of 20. So
30% higher?
30% higher, way higher. Unfortunately, they didn't break it down by expertise in using, they didn't break down the actual score by expertise in using AI.
They should have fed that into AI and it would have just done it for them.
Yeah. But then it took those people and it asked them, how well did you think you did before it gave them their score? And so the normal people who used it without AI, they got 10 right. And they guessed that they got about 11 and a half right, which is normal. Like most people think they're a little bit better than they are.
60% of people think they're above average.
Right. That's right. Well, what was crazy is the AI people, they thought that they scored almost 17 instead of 13. So they were like 4 points higher in their overestimation. They achieved 30% better, but they thought they achieved 70% better. And the more they used AI, the more good they thought they were than they actually were.
Man, so if I use AI and think I'm only 10% better, does that mean I'm worse?
It means either you're beginning to move past these people and your metacognition skills.
Ooh, my metacognition.
Or
I've been working on that.
Or you're not very good at AI.
Shoot. Both.
The formula is decreased effort leads to decreased skill and increased perception of mastery, which is like Proverbs 26:16 to a T. The sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly.
Man, this reminds me of something my grandmother used to say. I wish I could buy you for what you're worth and sell you for what you think you were worth.
Right. Yeah.
She said that in the most loving way, and it was very funny.
But and sometimes that's just a good thing to hear.
So I think what you're saying is AI is bad in every situation. Don't ever use it.
No.
Okay.
But you have to be wise about how you use AI.
So I am trying to get better at AI right now.
Right.
So I went on to Claude, and I told it you can go to the Learn section, and I told it to build me an AI course.
Right.
And man, it explains it. I'm like, I'm with you. And it does an example. I mean, it's like the teacher on the board. You're like, that's so good. I get that 100%. Now it's like, okay, now you make one. And I make it. And it's like, well, that's not exactly right. Which let me just tell you, if AI says that, it's being real nice. So
if this were 18, what kind of hat would I be wearing if this was 1875? You'd be wearing the dunce hat.
Dunce hat. So sitting on the corner, but did you ever get in trouble at school where the teacher drew a circle and you had to put your nose in it on the chalkboard?
No.
Did you ever see kids that had to do that?
Yeah, I don't remember elementary school kids getting in trouble for stuff.
There you go. Yeah, we always had a couple that were just they were ornery,
right?
And so they would have to put the teacher would draw a circle on the board and they had to put their nose inside the circle.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. It's like standing in the corner a little bit.
Yeah.
So it didn't put me in the corner, but it was like, hey, let's try that again and let's do it more like this.
Right.
So is that an okay use of AI?
It's not bad. I think when AI is challenging you to do something that you can't do yet, it's pushing you. It's not letting you. It's not doing it for you. I think that's really good. I think using it to outsource things that are not important.
Oh, for sure.
That's a really good use of AI. But the temptation is to not learn things with AI, but to give our tasks and our learning to AI. Say, hey, who should I vote for? Or instead of saying,
write this thing that I'm supposed to write.
Right, write this thing I'm supposed to write. Do my homework for me.
Yeah.
What should I invest in?
Is that purely an AI problem or even a technology problem? It doesn't seem. I mean, I just feel like so I was a teacher for a few years, and there were always those kids that scored 100 on all of their homework
and
zeros or 20s or whatever on their tests. So either they cheated,
right?
But these don't seem like the cheating kind of folks.
Yeah.
But they also were the ones that had the science fair projects that were
the Dyson sphere.
one grade, like one step below a professional presentation that
right.
And so I think we've all known somebody whose parents do their homework because they don't their parents can't handle them getting a bad grade, or somebody at work who the boss or the assistant does the work for the person because the work has to be done.
Right.
So this isn't just simply an AI problem.
It's not, but if I said it's like the difference in pornography between 1940 and 2026. 1940, they still had pornography, right? But you had to go somewhere with your body and buy something that had a physical form and pay money for it. And then you had to take it away. And there was a lot of hurdles. Now, any kid with a phone can find anything they want, basically. And that's the same kind of thing. That temptation to let somebody else or ask somebody else to do the work for you so you don't have to be foolish, so you don't have to work hard, so you don't have to learn because you don't feel like you can do it, because you really can't do it. All those things, the temptations have always been there, but access has always been the problem. You had to find a parent that was kind of an enabling parent, or a friend that would
let you cheat,
or whatever. And now you don't have to do those things.
All right. So we've talked about the domains. We talked about even some of the technology, but this podcast is about work, I believe.
Right.
So what's the impact of this expertise domain stuff have to do with our work?
If we go back to the fundamental reason for the podcast, is each kind of work has a different kind of wisdom, right? Which means your pastor and probably your Sunday school teacher don't have the domain-specific wisdom required to apply the Bible, to apply best practices in your workplace.
What if he's a really cool pastor with skinny jeans and a lot of tattoos?
Ooh, if he has those two things and he's worked in your profession for 5 to 10 years,
okay,
we probably totally is probably good.
So he has to have at least all three of those.
Right, at least all three.
Or literally at least one of working in your profession.
At least one.
Yeah. So how do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you apply the Bible to your, if you're a mortgage broker,
Right.
if you are a middle manager,
Yeah.
if you like, how do you apply the Bible to your job?
That is a good question. It's a hard question. I think again, go back to um, try. Set your intention. I'm going to try to be wise. I'm going to try to follow Jesus at my workplace. I'm going to try when I read the scriptures to see what it means for my work. If it says turn the other cheek and I'm in HR, I'm going to be like, okay, what does that mean in this context?
Yeah.
And then as you grow in your ability to hold more of the Bible in your head, and you'll say, okay, well, I've got these 3 things that are in tension. Now, how do I wrestle with my job? It is not going to be easy. You are going to make foolish mistakes. It would be very, very good to try to find people who are in your profession and who are believers who can help you wrestle with that.
Yeah.
Part of what we're trying to do on this podcast is introduce people from different professions so that we can see how they're wrestling with at least one of their kind of crucial theological issues, so that it might encourage and inspire those of us, even if we're not in that profession. We could say, oh man, I do struggle sometimes with wanting to feel more significant, feel like I'm making more of an impact. Oh, I do struggle with trying to hire qualified people, but also wanting to hire people that believe in Jesus or open to the faith. Those kind of questions are questions that we should ask together.
So I feel like if we can go back to the quilt analogy, no one wants a hole in their quilt.
No.
And I think sometimes, like what you're saying is, if you want to connect your job to your faith, maybe you need the Bible square. I mean, just like the square of Bible mastery, you got the square built out of your job. I mean, maybe if you don't, maybe learn your job super good, before like you start trying to apply the Bible to it. At least at first, learn how to do your job. Now, I mean, live in a Christian way, but let's learn how to do our jobs. Don't be that employee that's so worried about applying your Christian principles that you're bad at your work and then give Christianity a bad name.
Right. Yeah, there's a balance there that's tough to hold.
If you have that square built out, you want to connect it to the Bible square, to your faith square.
Right.
You don't want a big hole in your quilt.
Yeah, that's true. And then another aspect is, I mean, I think so many people, we've so conditioned ourselves to the 5 takeaways and the 3 things you learn from this book and the 7 things you learn from this podcast and the whatever, that we get this idea that wisdom should be the same.
We're going to do a recap, by the way, of the 5 things.
Yeah, of 5 things, but not the 5 things. Like, I think Job is super, super clear here. And the fact that there is a book of Proverbs that is not 5 things long. Job 28, chapter 28, verses 12 through 28. And I'll read most of it, but not all of it. It starts like this. And this is Job. He is a good person. He is a wise man. And he says, but where can wisdom be found? That's just a great place to start. That's the question you have to start asking. All right. But where can wisdom be found? Where does understanding dwell? No mortal comprehends its worth. It can't be found in the land of the living. The deep says it isn't in me. The sea says it isn't with me. It can't be bought with the finest gold. Neither gold nor crystal can compare with it. The price of wisdom is beyond rubies. Where then does wisdom come from? Where does understanding dwell? It is hidden from the eyes of every living thing. It's concealed even from the birds in the sky. Death and destruction say only a rumor of it has reached our ears. But God understands the way to it. He alone knows where it dwells, for he views the ends of the earth and he sees everything under the heavens. God said to the human race, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to shun evil is understanding. I know we all want mm, the 3 steps to finding wisdom.
The one thing that's going to change
The
everything.
one thing that's going to change everything. That would make a way better YouTube video. I would have a surprise face.
Mm.
Um, I'm trying to become more wise, and I'll be honest, I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't have a 10-year plan for becoming more wise. My 10-year plan is today to try hard to become more wise, to spend time in the Word, um, to try to understand the thing that I'm doing, to try to understand the world.
For me, I look at this, go, oh, to be wise, I need to become more expert in some certain domains.
Yeah,
So I need to be better at a few of these things about how I lead people and how we lead campuses here at the church.
yeah,
And so if I can get better at that,
right,
I think that will help that will help complete my quilt of
right.
wisdom.
There's a lot of chapters of Proverbs. Probably just kind of going through those and remembering I've got to keep spending time on all of these different domains.
Yeah.
Time today, time tomorrow, time for 10 years until I've got those 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 hours working with people,
Yeah.
working in leadership, not just doing it, because doing the task can totally get in the way of growing in wisdom, but setting that intention, putting the mental effort in to try to make this thing that doesn't fit by changing the way I see the world or changing the way I understand that thing. Wisdom is costly, but it's worth it. That, I think that's the message of Job. It's the message of Proverbs. It's the message of Jesus.
All right, Josh, give them the five. No, let's recap. We're going to recap, which a recap is not like, oh, do these 5 things and guaranteed to make more money. Like, we've been talking for a long time. We're just
Right.
giving you a summary.
We want to be wise, but we have to learn wisdom piece by piece, domain by domain, skill by skill.
Yeah, you can be wise in one area of your life and foolish in another. And that's just part of being alive.
Expertise, more or less, is equal to attention plus effort plus correction over time.
Fourth, which I can't tell you how much this will help you if you learn how to apply the Bible to your work, which is hard work. It's intimidating work, but it's so rewarding.
Artificial intelligence makes us more capable and more foolish at the same time unless we use it wisely. So here's our challenge for you as you take this away. You've listened to a podcast. Hopefully it made you think a little bit, but it was still probably mostly a passive experience for you.
Unless you're hooting and hollering every time we say something good or bad.
Now I want you to read the story of Jesus visiting Martha and Mary. It's in Luke 10, verses 38 to 42. 6 verses, very short. You know the story already, probably. It's going to talk about Mary choosing to spend time with Jesus instead of doing some task and to listen and learn his teaching. And here's the question: are you wrestling with the Word of God with respect to your life, or is the Word of God a passive part of your life? You just read the chapter or read the verse or say the prayer, but you're not feeling that friction, that effort, that trouble of trying to make the world make sense through the Scripture.
I just thought of something to make this a little more active, Josh. I hear some people listen to this. I've heard, on a jog or on a walk or something. If every time we said something challenging to them, if you do a burpee, you would probably remember it a little more. It'd be more active. It'd be a more active listening.
But what if they're washing dishes? They try to go to burpee and totally face plant because they've got soap on their hands.
Keep your head on a swivel.
Right.
No. Well, so man, we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and learning to follow Jesus at work and in life and whatever you do requires real face-to-face community and relationships. And if you happen to live in Albuquerque, we would love to have you join us at Grace Church in Louisiana in San Antonio, or Mesa Valley at Blake and Isleta.
Yeah, if you have ideas for a new topic or you have comments or suggestions, please email us at thegospelworkspodcast@gracechurchabq.org. We've got 4 episodes left in season 1 before we take a break before season 2. We'd love to have some new ideas to bring back next season.
And maybe you just heard that email address and had to do a burpee because remembering it is a challenge. That's my fault.
More than 7
Yeah.
parts.
So, next time, when expertise just isn't enough, what do you do about it? Well, you'll have to tune in. Until then, for Josh, my name is Aaron, and this is the Gospel Works Podcast.